I thought my biggest worry was Leo's shoelaces, not the apocalypse in an iPad case. Tuesday morning started like any other disaster in the Harper household. 7-year-old Leo was frantically searching for his school tablet, while my wife Melissa rushed around in her power suit, barking orders like a drill sergeant with a marketing degree. "Eddie, have you seen Leo's tablet?" Mel snapped, not looking up from her phone. She'd been glued to that thing for weeks now, always texting, always distracted. Girls' nights had become a weekly occurrence, and her work emergencies kept her out until midnight. "Check the kitchen counter," I called back, adjusting my tie. At 37, I'd learned that marriage was mostly about knowing where everyone else's stuff was. As an IT security manager, I was good at finding things that didn't want to be found. Leo appeared in the doorway, clutching an iPad. "Found it, Dad." Something looked off. The case was wrong. Too sleek, too expensive for a kid's school device. But Mel was already pushing him toward the door, coffee mug in one hand, designer purse in the other. "Great. Let's go, baby. Mommy has a big presentation today." She kissed Leo's forehead, barely glanced at me. "Eddie, can you pick him up?" "I might be late again." Of course she would be. "Sure thing, honey. Break a leg at your presentation." She was out the door before I finished the sentence, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive perfume and mounting dread I couldn't quite name. I made it to work by 8:30, diving into server maintenance and security protocols. My job was protecting corporate secrets, keeping the bad guys out of systems they didn't belong in. The irony wasn't lost on me later. At 10:15, my phone rang. Lincoln Elementary School. "Mr. Harper, this is Principal Rowe. You need to come here immediately." The tone made my stomach drop. "Is Leo hurt?" "No, sir, but we have a situation. Please come as soon as possible." I drove across town with my heart hammering, running through every possible scenario. Playground fight? Broken arm? Worse? The school parking lot was chaos. 2 police cars, parents clustering in worried groups, teachers herding kids away from the main building. Officer D'Angelo met me at the entrance, his face grim. "Mr. Harper, we need to talk." Principal Rowe looked like she'd aged 10 years since our last parent conference. She led me to her office where Leo sat in a chair, looking small and confused. The iPad, Mel's iPad I realize now, sat on the desk like evidence at a crime scene. "Mr. Harper," Principal Rowe began carefully, "Leo was showing his classmates some pictures on his tablet during free time. The teacher noticed, and..." She gestured helplessly at Officer D'Angelo. The cop cleared his throat. "Sir, we found explicit content on this device, videos and photographs of an adult nature, given that this was in a school setting with minors present." My world tilted sideways. "Explicit content?" Officer D'Angelo turned the screen toward me. My wife's face filled the display, but she wasn't alone. She wasn't wearing clothes either. The man with her was young, muscular, with tribal tattoos covering his shoulders. A second video showed her with someone else, face partially obscured, but clearly not me. The room spun. 7 years of marriage, a son together, a mortgage, shared dreams. All of it crumbling while a police officer watched my reaction. "Jesus," I whispered. "The device is registered to your wife, Melissa Harper," Officer D'Angelo continued. "We'll need to speak with her as well, and given the circumstances." My phone buzzed. Text from Mel. "How's your day going, babe?" I almost laughed. Almost? Instead, I looked at the cop with what I hoped was a steady voice. "What happens now?" "Well, we need to determine if any laws were broken regarding the exposure of minors to explicit material. That's a serious charge. Do you want to press charges against your wife?" Leo was staring at me with wide, worried eyes. He didn't understand what was happening, just that Daddy looked scared and there were police involved. I thought about Mel rushing out this morning, pushing Leo toward the door, not bothering to check which tablet he'd grabbed. "Not yet," I said finally, but I was definitely going to press something. My phone started ringing before I reached the parking lot. Mel's contact photo, a selfie from our anniversary dinner last month, flashed on the screen. Her smile looked different now, predatory. "Eddie, thank God. I just heard from Jenna that there are police cars at Leo's school. What's happening? Is he okay?" Jenna, Mel's best friend and partner in crime for every girls' night adventure. Of course she'd already called. "Leo's fine," I said, unlocking my car. "But your iPad isn't..." Silence. Then, "My iPad? What are you talking about? The one with your home movies, Mel? The ones Leo accidentally shared with his second-grade class?" More silence. I could practically hear her brain scrambling for damage control. Eddie, I can explain. I bet you can. Who's the guy with the tattoos? What guy? Eddie, you're not making sense. Are you having some kind of breakdown? The gaslighting was immediate and automatic. 7 years of marriage, and she'd probably been practicing this conversation in her head for months. Save it, I said. I saw the videos, plural. So did Principal Rowe, Officer D'Angelo, and probably half the school staff by now. Hope your presentation goes well today. I hung up and drove home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Our house looked the same. Suburban normal, 2-car garage, Leo's bike on the lawn. But everything felt different, contaminated. Mel's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. She must have left her presentation to race home. Through the window, I could see her pacing in the living room, phone pressed to her ear. I walked in to find her mid-conversation. I don't know how he got access to it. Yes, I deleted everything. No, there's no way he can prove. Eddie! She hung up quickly, but not quickly enough. Prove what exactly? I asked. She'd changed out of her power suit into jeans and a sweater, her approachable wife costume. Her eyes were red, but I couldn't tell if it was from crying or panic. Eddie, sit down. Let me explain. I'm good standing. This isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like my wife has been starring in amateur adult content with at least 2 different men. They were just experiments. Research for a romance novel I'm writing. Jenna dared me to try method acting for character development. I stared at her. Method acting. Yes, you know how creative I am. I've always wanted to write, and Mel, stop. The pressure at work has been incredible, and you've been so distant lately. Stop. I needed to feel alive again, to feel desired. Stop. She flinched. I never yelled. In 7 years of marriage, I'd never raised my voice at her. I was the calm one, the reasonable one, the one who fixed problems quietly and efficiently. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice deadly quiet. You're going to tell me who these men are. You're going to tell me how long this has been going on. And you're going to tell me the truth. Because if I have to find out another way, it's going to be much worse for everyone involved. Eddie, please. The guy with the tattoos. Who is he? She bit her lip, a gesture that used to seem cute. Now it just looked calculating. His name is Darren Brooks. He's a personal trainer at the gym. Your gym? Yes. How long? 3 months. And the other guy? It was just once. Mel. Tyler Morrison. He's Darren's friend. My wife had been having a sexual act with her personal trainer and his buddy, while I picked up our son from soccer practice and helped with homework and fixed the garbage disposal. Are there others? No. Eddie, I swear. A car pulled into our driveway. Through the window, I could see Jenna getting out of her BMW, followed by another woman I recognized as Tara, another member of Mel's inner circle. You called reinforcements, I observed. They're here to help, to support us through this. Us. Jenna burst through the front door without knocking, Tara close behind. Both were dressed like they were heading to a crisis management meeting, which I suppose they were. Eddie! Jenna rushed toward me with open arms, as if we were close friends instead of reluctant acquaintances. I am so sorry you had to find out this way. Find out what way would have been better? Look, Tara jumped in. We all make mistakes. Mel loves you. She loves Leo. This doesn't have to destroy your family, doesn't it? Of course not. Jenna was using her sales voice, the one she used to sell overpriced jewelry at mall kiosks. Marriage is work. It's about forgiveness and growth and apparently filming adult content with strangers. They weren't strangers, Mel said quietly. Darren and I have been friends for months. Friends. Yes, the kind of friends who make sexual activity tapes together. Eddie, please don't be crude. I laughed. Actually laughed. I'm being crude? My phone buzzed. Direct message on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. @FitnessDarrenB. Back off or I'll bury you. I showed the screen to Mel. Her face went white. You gave him my social media information? He was worried you might try to cause trouble. Trouble? I looked around the room at my cheating wife, her enabler friends, the house we'd bought together, the family photos on the mantle. Yeah, I might cause some trouble. By Thursday morning, the story had legs. Someone at Lincoln Elementary, probably a teacher's aide with a Facebook addiction, had leaked the details to Suburban Secrets, a local gossip blog that thrived on PTA drama and municipal scandals. The headline read, Local Mom's X-Rated Mistake, Shocks Elementary School. They didn't use names, but in a town of 60,000 people, anonymity was a luxury we couldn't afford. My phone had been ringing since 6 a.m. with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Reporters, probably, or just curious neighbors. Leo was staying with my parents across town until the media attention died down. I'd told him Mommy and Daddy were having grown-up problems and needed some time to figure things out. He'd nodded solemnly and asked if he could bring his Nintendo Switch to Grandma's house. Mel had barricaded herself in our bedroom, emerging only to use the bathroom and grab snacks. Her phone rang constantly, but she'd stopped answering after the third call from her boss. I was in the kitchen making coffee when she finally came downstairs, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "Eddie, we need to talk." "Do we?" "The school board called an emergency meeting for tonight. They want to discuss the incident and determine if any further action needs to be taken." I poured myself coffee, didn't offer her any. What kind of action? They might press charges against me for exposing minors to explicit material. Might. Eddie, I could go to jail. Probably should have thought of that before you started your film career. This isn't a joke. No, it's really not. She sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast as a family just 3 days ago. Everything looked the same, but the context had shifted completely. "Darren thinks you're going to try to ruin his reputation, his fitness business?" "Darren thinks a lot of things, apparently." "He has friends, Eddie, people who won't appreciate you causing problems." I looked at my wife, really looked at her. When had she become someone who delivered threats on behalf of her lover? When had I become someone who needed to be threatened? "Let me ask you something, Mel. In all your planning, the secret phone calls, the hotel rooms, the video sessions, did you ever think about what would happen if Leo found out? If I found out? If everyone found out?" "Of course I did. That's why I was careful." "Careful?" "Yes. You were careful, but you let our 7-year-old son take your sexual activity tape collection to school. That was an accident. Was it? Or were you just so arrogant, so sure you were smarter than everyone else, that you got sloppy?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. The school board meeting was held in the Lincoln Elementary cafeteria at 7 p.m. I arrived early, choosing a seat in the back where I could observe without being observed. The room filled quickly. Parents, teachers, school board members, and what looked like half the neighborhood. Mel arrived with Jenna and Tara flanking her like bodyguards. She'd dressed conservatively, navy blue dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back, trying to look like a repentant suburban mom instead of an amateur adult content star. Principal Rowe called the meeting to order and explained the situation in clinical terms. An inappropriate device was brought to school by a student, exposing other children to explicit material. We're here to determine the appropriate response. Board member Patricia Wells, a woman who'd never liked me since I'd opposed her proposal to ban Harry Potter books from the school library, spoke first. "This is exactly the kind of moral decay that's destroying our community. Children can't learn in an environment where parents have no respect for decency or family values." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. I saw neighbors I'd known for years nodding along, their faces a mixture of outrage and barely concealed excitement at being part of a real scandal. Mel stood up. "May I address the board?" "You may." She walked to the front of the room with her head held high, every inch the confident marketing executive. For a moment, I almost admired her composure. "My name is Melissa Harper, and I want to apologize for this unfortunate incident. What happened was a private matter between consenting adults that accidentally became public due to a simple mix-up of electronic devices. My son grabbed the wrong tablet, and I take full responsibility for that mistake." She paused, scanning the crowd. "But I want to be clear. I am not a bad mother. I am not a bad person. I made some personal choices that I'm not proud of, but those choices don't define me as a parent or as a member of this community." More murmurs, some sympathetic now. Mel had always been good at working a room. "I ask for your understanding and your forgiveness as my family works through this difficult time." She sat down to scattered applause. Jenna reached over and squeezed her hand supportively. Board member Wells wasn't impressed. "Mrs. Harper, while we appreciate your apology, the fact remains that multiple children were exposed to graphic related to sex content because of your negligence. What assurance do we have that something like this won't happen again?" "It won't," Mel said firmly. "I've deleted all inappropriate content from my devices and implemented better security measures to prevent any future mix-ups." "What about the legal implications? asked Board Member Rodriguez. Should we be involving law enforcement? That's when I stood up. May I address the board? Principal Rowe looked surprised. Mr. Harper, of course. I walked to the front of the room, feeling dozens of eyes tracking my movement. Mel's face had gone pale. My name is Eddie Harper. I'm Melissa's husband and Leo's father. I turned to face the crowd. I want to thank everyone for their concern about my son's well-being. He's a good kid, and he doesn't deserve to be at the center of this mess. Nods of agreement. So far, so good. But I also want to address something my wife said. She called this a simple mix-up of electronic devices, as if she accidentally grabbed the wrong coffee mug. This wasn't a mix-up. This was the inevitable result of reckless, selfish behavior that put our child at risk. Mel started to stand, but Jenna pulled her back down. My wife has been having affairs for months. Multiple affairs with multiple men. And she's been documenting these affairs on video. She kept this material on a device that she knew our son had access to in our family home, where he plays and does homework and lives his life. The room was dead silent now. So when she asked for your understanding and forgiveness, remember that she's not asking for forgiveness for making a mistake. She's asking for forgiveness for making dozens of deliberate choices that led to our 7-year-old son accidentally sharing adult content with his classmates. I looked directly at Mel. I guess family values mean something different in our house. At least now, everyone gets a peek. The room erupted. Parents shouting questions, board members calling for order, Mel crying into Jenna's shoulder. I walked back to my seat and sat down, my heart pounding but my conscience clear. The meeting dissolved into chaos after that. No formal action was taken. The board decided to table the discussion pending further review. Mel and her supporters fled quickly, but not before I heard Patricia Wells telling another parent, "Well, at least now we know what kind of people we're dealing with." I drove home alone, windows down, feeling something like freedom for the first time in months. That freedom lasted exactly 12 hours. Friday morning, I found my car in the driveway with "Cuck" spray painted across the windshield in red letters. The tires had been slashed, and there was a dead rat stuffed into the exhaust pipe. A note was tucked under the windshield wiper. "This is just the beginning." It was signed with a simple D. I called in sick to work and spent Friday morning documenting the vandalism, filing a police report, and arranging for my car to be towed. Officer D'Angelo took photos and collected the note, but we both knew it would be nearly impossible to prove Darren was responsible. "Any idea who might have done this?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. "I have suspicions." "Mr. Harper, I understand you're angry, but if you're thinking about taking matters into your own hands, I'd strongly advise against it. Let us handle this through proper channels." "Of course, officer. I'm a law-abiding citizen." That was technically true. I just hadn't decided which laws I was going to abide by. After the police left, I sat in my kitchen with my laptop and did what I did best: research. Darren Brooks wasn't hard to find online. His Instagram account, at FitnessDarrenB, had 12,000 followers and featured an endless stream of gym selfies, protein shake endorsements, and motivational quotes about crushing your goals and living your best life. His bio listed him as a certified personal trainer and life coach at Apex Fitness downtown. The photos showed a man in his early 30s with the kind of sculpted physique that required either exceptional genetics or pharmaceutical assistance. Maybe both. His most recent post, uploaded that morning, showed him doing bicep curls with the caption, "Some people talk, real men take action. #no excuses, #alpha life, #stay strong." The comments were full of fire emojis and admiring responses from women with fake-looking profile pictures. One comment caught my attention. "Darren, baby, when are you going to post those videos you mentioned?" I screenshotted everything. Darren's friend Tyler Morrison was easier to find. His social media presence was even more extensive. Where Darren projected calculated alpha male confidence, Tyler was pure chaos. His TikTok account featured gym pranks, protein powder reviews, and videos of him striking on women at coffee shops. His Instagram bio read, "Content creator vertical bar, fitness enthusiast, vertical bar living life unfiltered." In several recent posts, Tyler appeared alongside Darren, both of them flexing in matching tank tops. The most recent video, posted Thursday night, showed them at a bar celebrating something. The caption read, "When your boy handles his business like a boss, some dudes just can't compete. #winners, #alpha squad." The timestamp showed it was posted 3 hours after the school board meeting. I spent the afternoon planning. As an IT security manager, I understood systems, how they worked, where their vulnerabilities were, how to exploit weaknesses without leaving fingerprints. People were just another kind of system. Saturday morning, I drove my rental car to Apex Fitness. The gym was busy, weekend warriors working off their Friday night excesses, serious bodybuilders claiming territory around the free weights, cardio enthusiasts sweating through their Netflix binges on treadmills. Darren was easy to spot. He was exactly what I'd expected. 6'2", probably 220 pounds of muscle, with tribal tattoos covering his shoulders and arms. He was training a middle-aged woman on the leg press machine, standing close enough to be inappropriate, his hand resting on her lower back as he corrected her form. I watched him for 20 minutes, noting his routine. He worked with clients until noon, then spent an hour on his own workout, then usually hung around the juice bar flirting with female members. His black Jeep Wrangler was parked in the same spot both times I drove by, front row, taking up 2 spaces. That night, I returned to the gym after closing time. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars belonging to the cleaning crew. Darren's Jeep sat under a streetlight like a monument to overcompensation. I'd brought supplies, a bag of frozen shrimp from the grocery store, a funnel, and a small screwdriver. The shrimp went into the exhaust pipe, not enough to cause permanent damage, but enough to create an unforgettable stench when the engine heated up. I also loosened the valve caps on his tires, letting out just enough air to make them look flat without actually damaging them. The coup de grace was a stack of flyers I'd designed and printed at home. They featured a shirtless photo of Darren I'd pulled from his Instagram, along with the text, "Ask Darren about his amateur films, available for private sessions and special requests. Satisfaction guaranteed." I slipped the flyers under the windshield wipers of every car in the gym parking lot, then drove home feeling more satisfied than I had in months. Sunday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a notification. Darren had posted a new video on Instagram, and he looked furious. "Some coward thinks he can mess with me and my property," he said, standing next to his Jeep in what looked like an auto repair shop parking lot. "Let me tell you something. I don't play games. I don't hide behind lawyers or cry to the police. I handle my business face to face like a man." He stepped closer to the camera, his face filling the screen. "Eddie Harper, if you're watching this, and I know you are, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. I know where you live, I know where you work, and I know you're not man enough to face me directly." The video had been viewed 800 times and had dozens of comments, mostly from his usual admirers expressing outrage on his behalf. But a few comments were different. "Bro, what films is he talking about? Wait, are you the guy from the school thing? My sister heard about that. Limo, someone's triggered. What did you do, Darren?" I screenshotted those too. Monday evening, I was walking out of work when I noticed a black Jeep following me. Darren had apparently gotten his exhaust system cleaned and his tires inflated because the engine sounded normal and the vehicle was tracking straight. I drove home by a circuitous route, making several unnecessary turns to confirm I was being followed. The Jeep stayed 3 cars back, but it was definitely tailing me. When I pulled into my driveway, it drove past slowly, windows tinted too dark to see inside. An hour later, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I could see Darren standing on my front porch with another man, Tyler, I assumed, based on his Instagram photos. Both were dressed in gym clothes and looked like they'd been working out, or working themselves up. I opened the door but left the security chain engaged. "Can I help you?" "You know why we're here," Darren said. His voice was deeper than I'd expected, with a slight accent I couldn't place. "You want to play games? Let's play." "I'm not sure what you mean." "The flyers, the shrimp in my exhaust, you think you're clever?" "I think you have me confused with someone else." Tyler laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Dude, you're even more pathetic than Mel said you were. That strike harder than I'd expected." "What did she say?" "She said you were a boring loser who couldn't satisfy a woman if your life depended on it," Darren said. "She said you were so clueless, you probably wouldn't even notice she was cheating." "Guess she was wrong about that." "Was she? Because from where I'm standing, you look pretty clueless to me." I closed the door and walked away, but I could hear them laughing on the porch. A few minutes later, I heard car doors slam and an engine start up. The next morning, I found a brick through my living room window with another note, "Last warning." That's when I decided to stop playing defense. Tuesday morning, I called Mel's office and asked to speak with her supervisor, Janet Morrison. No relation to Tyler, just unfortunate luck with common surnames. Janet was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd built the marketing department from the ground up and had little patience for personal drama affecting professional performance. "Janet, This is Eddie Harper, Melissa's husband. I need to speak with you about a situation that might affect the company. What kind of situation, Eddie? The kind that might result in negative publicity if it's not handled properly. We met for coffee at a neutral location, a Starbucks downtown, far from Mel's office. I brought my laptop and a folder full of printed screenshots. Janet, I'm going to show you some things that are difficult to look at, but you need to know what's been happening. I started with Darren's Instagram posts, particularly the ones where he bragged about handling his business and made references to some dudes just can't compete. Then I showed her Tyler's TikTok videos, including one where he explicitly mentioned Eddie's wife and made crude gestures. These men are using their social media platforms to bother me and my family, I explained. They're making references to intimate videos involving my wife, and they're doing it publicly, using their real names. If anyone connects this back to Melissa's employer, Janet's face grew increasingly grim as she scrolled through the evidence. How many people know about this? Well, there was the school board meeting, and the local gossip blog, and now their social media followers. So, conservatively, several thousand people. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. I showed her the screenshots of comments from people who'd clearly connected Darren and Tyler to the school incident. It's only a matter of time before someone figures out where Melissa works and starts asking questions about the company's moral standards. Janet closed the laptop. What do you want from me, Eddie? I want you to be prepared, and I want you to know that I'm not the problem here. Are you planning to take legal action? I'm planning to protect my son and my reputation, whatever that takes. Wednesday afternoon, I put the second phase of my plan into motion. I discovered that Darren taught a weekly alpha fitness class at Apex Gym every Wednesday at 6 p.m. The class was popular with young professionals who wanted to feel dangerous for an hour before going home to their suburban lives. I arrived early and positioned myself in the parking lot where I could observe without being seen. At 5:45, participants started arriving, men in expensive workout gear driving luxury cars, trying to look tough while checking their phones for work emails. Darren arrived at 5:50 in his freshly repaired Jeep, music thumping loud enough to rattle windows. He parked in his usual spot and strutted toward the gym entrance like he owned the place. That's when I made my move. I'd prepared a second round of flyers, but these were different. Instead of the generic, "Ask Darren about his films" message, these featured specific screenshots from his social media posts alongside photos I'd pulled from Mel's tablet. Nothing explicit, just Darren's face clearly visible in compromising situations. The headline read, "Your Fitness Instructor's Side Hustle," with smaller text explaining that Darren Brooks, certified personal trainer, also specialized in private video sessions with married clients. I distributed the flyers to every car in the parking lot, then positioned myself across the street to watch the aftermath. The class ended at 7 p.m. The first few participants to reach their cars simply threw the flyers away. But then I saw one man stop and read more carefully. He pulled out his phone and appeared to be taking photos. Then another man did the same. Within minutes, a small crowd had gathered around one of the cars, passing the flyer around and pointing at the gym entrance. I could see animated discussions, head shaking, and what looked like several people making phone calls. Darren emerged from the gym at 7:15, towel around his neck, looking pleased with himself. The crowd in the parking lot had dispersed, but I could see several people sitting in their cars, apparently waiting for something. He made it halfway to his Jeep before the first confrontation. "Hey, Darren!" A man in his 40s wearing an expensive tracksuit was walking quickly toward him with a flyer in his hand. "Is this you?" Darren looked at the flyer, and even from across the street, I could see his body language change. His shoulders tensed, his hands clenched into fists. "Where did you get this?" "It was on my car, on everyone's car. So, is it true? Are you screwing around with married women and making videos?" "That's none of your business." "It is when I'm paying you to train my wife." More men approached, all holding flyers, all looking angry. Darren was outnumbered and clearly rattled. He tried to push past them toward his Jeep, but they blocked his path. "Answer the question, Darren. Are these photos real? This is harassment. Someone's trying to destroy my reputation." "So you're saying it's not true?" Darren hesitated just a moment too long. "Look, what I do in my private life." "So it is true." The situation escalated quickly from there. Voices raised, fingers pointed, someone shoved someone else. Darren made it to his Jeep and locked the doors, but the crowd surrounded the vehicle, shouting questions and demands. I started my rental car and drove away, but not before I saw gym security rushing out to break up the confrontation. Thursday morning brought the consequences. Darren's Instagram account was flooded with angry comments from current and former clients. Several women posted long messages about feeling violated and deceived by a trainer who was secretly an aggressor. The hashtag #Apex scandal started trending locally. More importantly, Apex Fitness posted a statement on their website. We have been made aware of allegations regarding one of our trainers. Effective immediately, Darren Brooks is suspended pending a full investigation into his conduct. Tyler, apparently feeling the heat by association, posted a rambling video defending his friend. Y'all don't know Darren like I do. He's a good dude who's being targeted by some jealous husband who can't handle the truth about his wife. The video backfired spectacularly. Comments poured in asking Tyler to explain what truth and demanding more details about the jealous husband situation. Several people posted links to the Suburban Secrets blog post about the school incident, connecting all the dots Tyler had helpfully provided. By Thursday evening, both Darren and Tyler had made their Instagram accounts private, but the damage was done. Screenshots of their posts were being shared across multiple platforms, and the story was taking on a life of its own. Friday morning, I received a call from Janet Morrison. Eddie, I need you to come to the office. We have a situation. Mel had been fired. She came in this morning and tried to act like nothing had happened, Janet explained. But we've had 3 clients call asking about the sexual activity tape scandal involving one of our employees. Our HR department spent 2 hours on the phone with corporate legal discussing liability issues. What was the final straw? She lied to me, directly to my face. She said the whole thing was a misunderstanding, that she was the sufferer of a vindictive ex-husband spreading false rumors. Ex-husband? She told everyone you were divorced and that you were trying to destroy her reputation out of spite. I almost admired the audacity. What did you tell her? I told her that her personal life had become a professional liability and that we were terminating her employment effective immediately. How did she take it? She threatened to sue for wrongful termination. Then she accused me of being jealous of her youth and attractiveness. Then she stormed out of the building screaming about how everyone was against her. Sounds about right. Eddie, I want you to know that I don't blame you for any of this. You've been nothing but professional and honest throughout this whole mess. I appreciate that, Janet. But I also want to give you some advice. This isn't over. People like Melissa don't accept responsibility for their actions. They escalate. They find new ways to make themselves the sufferer. Be careful. She was right, of course, but I was done being careful. Saturday morning, I was drinking coffee and reading the news when Mel's BMW pulled into my driveway. She sat in the car for several minutes, apparently gathering courage, before finally walking to the front door. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup was smeared, and she was wearing the same clothes she'd worn to work on Friday. The confident marketing executive was gone, replaced by someone who looked desperate and cornered. I opened the door before she could knock. Hello, Mel. Eddie, please, can I come in? We need to talk. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let her enter. She walked to the living room and sat on the couch where we used to watch movies together, back when we were a family. I lost my job, she said without preamble. I heard. Did you know that was going to happen when you talked to Janet? I suspected it might. So you planned this. You deliberately destroyed my career. No, Mel. You destroyed your career when you decided to film adult content with your personal trainer. I just made sure the right people knew about it. Those weren't adult content. They were private, intimate moments between consenting adults that you kept on a device our son had access to. That was an accident. No, that was negligence and arrogance and complete disregard for anyone but yourself. She started crying then. Not the manipulative tears she'd used during our marriage, but genuine sobs of desperation and loss. Eddie, I know I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I love you. I love Leo. I want to fix this. How? I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I'll cut off all contact with Darren and Tyler. I'll be the wife you deserve. The wife I deserve? Yes. I looked at her, really looked at her, and tried to remember when I'd stopped loving her. It wasn't when I found the videos, or even when I suspected she was cheating. It was earlier than that, maybe months earlier, when I realized that she saw me as an obstacle to her happiness rather than a partner in building it. Mel, do you know what you did wrong? I cheated on you. I betrayed our marriage vows. That's part of it, but that's not the worst part. Then what is? You put our son at risk. You kept explicit videos on a device that a 7-year-old child had access to. You were so focused on your own pleasure that you forgot you were a mother. It was an accident. It was inevitable. You were sloppy and selfish, and you didn't care about the consequences because you thought you were too smart to get caught. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking perfectly clearly. You just weren't thinking about anyone but yourself. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing her mascara even more. So, what happens now? You divorce me and take Leo away from me? I don't know yet. My parents are talking about hiring lawyers. They think you're being vindictive. Your parents think a lot of things. They're right, though. You could have handled this privately. You didn't have to humiliate me in public. Like you humiliated me? That's different. How? Because I never meant for anyone to find out. But they did find out, Mel. Our son's classmates found out, his teachers found out, the school board found out, the whole neighborhood found out. The difference is I didn't create that situation. You did. She stood up abruptly, her sadness transforming into anger. You're enjoying this, aren't you? You're enjoying watching me suffer. I'm enjoying watching you face consequences. This isn't consequences, Eddie. This is revenge. You're right, it is. That's not who you are. You're not vindictive or cruel. You're the good guy. Maybe I got tired of being the good guy. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her recalibrating, trying to figure out how to handle this version of me she'd never met before. If you keep doing this, you'll destroy yourself too. Leo will grow up knowing his father was a vindictive man who chose revenge over forgiveness. Or he'll grow up knowing his father was a man who refused to be disrespected. Eddie, you already did everything, Mel. You cheated. You lied. You put our child at risk. You tried to gaslight me, and when that didn't work, you sent your boyfriend to intimidate me. You did all of that. I'm just making sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Darren has friends. People who won't appreciate what you've done to him. Is that a threat? It's a warning. After she left, I sat in my living room and thought about what she'd said. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone who chose revenge over forgiveness. But then I remembered Leo's confused face in the principal's office, and I decided I could live with being that person. The next phase of my plan would require perfect timing and a public venue. Fortunately, the annual Riverside Arts Festival was scheduled for the following Saturday, and I happened to know that both Darren and Tyler would be there. Tyler had posted about it on his TikTok account. Apparently, he was planning to film prank videos at the festival and needed a crowd for maximum impact. Darren, despite his recent setbacks, was still scheduled to appear at a fitness vendor's booth, promoting a new line of protein supplements. I spent the week preparing, calling in favors, and setting up the technical aspects of what I had planned. By Friday night, everything was in place. Saturday dawned clear and warm, perfect festival weather. I arrived early, scouted the location, and positioned myself where I could observe both the fitness booth and the main stage area where Tyler was planning to film. At 2 p.m., I put my plan into motion. The Riverside Arts Festival was in full swing by the time I spotted Darren at the Nutrimax booth, wearing a company polo shirt and trying to look professional despite the circumstances. He was demonstrating proper protein shake mixing technique to a small crowd of fitness enthusiasts, most of whom seemed unaware of his recent notoriety. Tyler was harder to find, but I eventually located him near the main stage, filming TikTok videos with festival goers. His usual manic energy seemed forced, and I noticed several people declining to participate when he approached them. I'd spent the morning setting up my equipment, a small wireless microphone system I'd borrowed from my company's presentation gear, connected to a portable speaker I'd hidden near the main stage. The setup was invisible to casual observers, but would broadcast clearly across a significant portion of the festival grounds. At 2:30 p.m., I approached Darren at the Nutrimax booth. "Excuse me, aren't you Darren Brooks?" He looked up from the protein powder display, his expression wary. "Yeah, who's asking?" "Eddie Harper. I think we need to talk." His entire demeanor changed. The fake customer service smile disappeared, replaced by barely controlled hostility. "I got nothing to say to you." "That's funny, because you had plenty to say on Instagram." A few customers at the booth were starting to pay attention to our conversation. Darren glanced around nervously. Look, man, I'm working here. Can we do this somewhere else? Actually, I think here is perfect. Very public. Lots of witnesses. I activated the wireless microphone clipped to my shirt. My voice suddenly boomed across the festival grounds through the hidden speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Darren Brooks, certified personal trainer and amateur filmmaker. The crowd around the booth grew larger as people turned to see what was happening. Darren's face went pale. What the hell are you doing? I'm giving you the public platform you seem to enjoy so much. Tell everyone about your video projects, Darren. Tell them about the married women you've been filming. Turn that thing off. Why? I thought you liked attention. Isn't that why you posted all those videos bragging about handling your business? By now, we had attracted a significant crowd. People were pulling out their phones, recording the confrontation. I could see Tyler pushing through the crowd, trying to reach his friend. You're insane! Darren shouted, which only amplified through the speaker system. Am I? Or am I just tired of being disrespected by a steroid-addled narcissist who thinks he can threaten me and vandalize my property without consequences? I never threatened you. Really? What about the note you left with the dead rat? What about the brick through my window? The crowd was getting larger and more animated. I could hear people in the back asking others what was happening, and the story was spreading rapidly through the festival. Tyler finally reached us, looking panicked. Darren, don't say anything else. This is being recorded. Too late for that advice, I said, my voice still amplified. Tyler Morrison, everyone. Darren's partner in crime and social media harassment. Tyler's face flushed red. You can't do this. This is entrapment or something. Actually, this is just accountability. You two have been posting videos and making threats for weeks. I'm just making sure everyone knows who you really are. We never made any threats, Tyler protested. No? What about your TikTok video where you said some people can't handle the truth about their wives? What about Darren's Instagram post where he said he knows where I live and work? The crowd was getting restless. I could hear angry murmurs, and several people were shouting questions at Darren and Tyler. Is this about that school thing? Are you the guys who made those videos? What did you do to this man's wife? Darren tried to push past me toward the edge of the crowd, but I blocked his path. Where are you going, Darren? I thought you liked handling things face to face like a man. Get out of my way! Or what? You'll vandalize my car again? You'll leave another dead animal on my property? I didn't do any of that. Really? Then who did? Darren hesitated, trapped between admitting guilt and implicating someone else. The crowd pressed closer, sensing red liquid in the water. This is harassment, Tyler shouted. Someone call security. Good idea, I said. Let's get security involved. Let's get the police involved. Let's make this official. That's when Darren snapped. He lunged toward me, fists raised, but the crowd was too dense for him to reach me effectively. Instead, he stumbled backward, arms windmilling, and crashed directly into the Nutrimax display. Protein powder exploded everywhere. Bottles and containers scattered across the ground. Darren landed hard on his back, covered in chocolate-flavored supplement dust, looking like the world's most pathetic fitness influencer. The crowd erupted in laughter and cheers. Phone cameras captured every moment of his humiliation. Tyler tried to help him up, but slipped on the spilled powder and fell down beside him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you mess with other people's families, I announced through the speaker system. Security arrived moments later, followed quickly by police officers. The crowd was too large and too excited to disperse easily, and I could see people already posting videos to social media with hashtags like #ProteinPowderFail and #FitnessKarma. Officer D'Angelo was among the responding officers. He looked at me with a mixture of exasperation and grudging respect. Mr. Harper, what exactly happened here? I was trying to have a civilized conversation with Mr. Brooks about his recent harassment campaign against my family. He became violent and attacked me, but fortunately, the crowd prevented him from causing any damage. That's not what happened, Darren protested, still covered in protein powder. He set this whole thing up. He's been stalking us. Stalking you? I came to a public festival and approached you at your place of business. Everything I said was true, and everything that happened was witnessed by dozens of people. The police took statements from multiple witnesses, all of whom confirmed that Darren had lunged at me first. The Nutrimax representative was furious about the destroyed display and demanded that Darren pay for the damages. As the crowd finally began to disperse, I could see people sharing videos and photos of the incident. Within hours, the footage would be all over social media, and Darren's humiliation would be complete. Tyler was trying to salvage the situation by filming a damage control video, but his phone was covered in protein powder and wouldn't work properly. "This isn't over," Darren said as the police escorted him away from the festival. "Yes," I replied. "It really is." I found Leo at my parents' house that evening, playing video games and blissfully unaware of the day's events. He ran to me when I walked in, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Daddy, did you have a good day?" I thought about Darren covered in protein powder, Tyler slipping and falling, the crowd cheering, and the dozens of videos that were probably already going viral. "Yeah, buddy, I had a very good day." "Can we get ice cream?" "Absolutely. You've earned it, and so have I." As we walked to the ice cream shop, Leo chattering about his day with Grandma and Grandpa, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness exactly, but the satisfaction of a job completed and justice served. My phone buzzed with notifications, friend requests, messages, and tags from people who had witnessed the festival incident. Darren's Instagram account had been deleted entirely, and Tyler's TikTok was flooded with comments mocking his failed attempt at damage control. Mel had sent a single text message: "I hope you're satisfied." I was.